We are very excited about episode 72 as we welcome Henry with Real Golfers of the podcast. We will discuss Henry's golf brand, the caddy life, and everything in between. His Instagram handle is at Real Golfers Co. Henry, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. As I was kind of telling you right before we hopped on here, that normally Dom is kind of the podcast guru, and I'm kind of just the guy that asks all the questions. But he kind of hurt his back, so hopefully he has got a speedy recovery, and I'm kind of doing it solo, so I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no worries. We'll see. We'll get a good episode going. It's gonna be good.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. So definitely want to talk about the company that you started. But you are a caddy at the Ocean Course, and again, I want to pick your brain on that. But tell us a little bit of how you got into the game of golf, and do you play golf competitively, or did you play competitively? Tell us a little story about that.
Yeah, all the above. I would say I got into golf at a pretty young age, pretty standard. My dad loved golf. He brought me to the course and never looked back from there. Played all growing up, high school, played community college, won the national championship at the community college.
Very cool.
Um, yeah, thanks. And still playing in competitive amateur stuff. There's a lot of good amateur golf in the Carolinas, so plenty of good players to play against anytime you want.
Now you talked to that. You'd mentioned that you are originally from Michigan. And again, I just got done playing Forest Dunes this past summer. There's Michigan golf is very underrated in my opinion. I've never played it until last summer. So, is it very competitive as far as like the golfers itself? Minnesota, I'm from Minnesota, not really known for having really good golfers. We're more known for hockey players, so to speak, I guess,
Right.
if we're lumping it as a whole. But is Michigan a pretty competitive uh, golf state?
That's an interesting question. I would say people in Michigan love golf, but you can only play for like half the year. So compared to these kids who grew up in Florida and Texas, California, it's harder to get to that next level growing up
Sure.
in Michigan. I always kind of had that as a chip on my shoulder, like, I'm gonna be the first guy from Michigan to win on tour. Big dreams, never got there, obviously, but there is one guy who I don't know if he won, but he made a good living on tour from Michigan named Tom Gillis.
Okay.
But just got off on a tangent. Anyway, golf in Michigan, kind of competitive. They love it, but not a ton of pros coming out of Michigan.
Sure. Like you said, we're very limited with our weather. Same thing in Minnesota too. Um, so yeah, there's really as far as competing with some of those guys that play all year round, we just don't really, hitting a simulator is one thing, but being able to play golf every day all year round is another, right? So, is that one of the reasons that you're living out in South Carolina right now?
Yeah, for sure. As soon as I mean, I love Michigan. I go up there as much as I can, especially in the summer. But growing up, I knew if I wanted to work on my game and get better, get to the next level, I would have to move south like as soon as I could, which is when I graduated high school.
Gotcha. So you played collegiate golf as well, you said, for community college, won a championship. Was that also in Michigan?
That was in North Carolina. So as soon as I got done with high school, I moved down to Pinehurst, North Carolina.
Okay.
Uh, Caddied there for a few years and attended a community college there called Sandhills, and we were the 2014 NJCAA national champs, something no one's ever heard of. But we got a little ring and it was fun. My teammates obviously did all the work. They were great players. But yeah, super fun.
How many players are on a team for like for college golf or community? Is it the same like from like D1, D2, D3 to like community college, the same kind of structure?
Yeah, it's the same structure all the way through. It's five players are going to a match, and you take the four best scores. So if you got four guys who play well, the final guy could shoot 100 and it wouldn't matter.
Would matter. Okay. That would be me. I'd be that guy just for the entertainment.
That was me all like plenty of times. I played
Yeah,
five. I played the five guy my freshman year. So like if I played well, we'd occasionally take my score, but we had four guys on the team that played D1. So I had to play well just to get my name in there.
sure. Well, you'd mentioned Pinehurst, which is obviously one of the most popular resorts in the world, or at least for sure in the United States. Did you guys get to play a lot of those courses that were near that or in that property or near that property as far as like
Yeah,
when you were playing college?
definitely. I was there for 3 years, and the community college coach was like a really connected guy. from Pinehurst. He was a head pro at a nice course in the area, so he would get us on all the private courses for practice. And I was caddying at Pinehurst at the times, and they have great playing privileges for caddies. So I played all the Pinehurst courses 100 times.
Now, I don't know if you've seen these documentaries on Netflix as far as like they have like the basketball one. It's that community college or out in California. Um, and essentially like they follow it's like a documentary. They follow the whole team around. And some of these guys have been able to play like they've played D1, but then they like had terrible grades or whatever it might have been. They just like
Right.
had to take a different path. I think that'd be so cool to have something like that where they follow like a golf team or the same thing because at the end of the day, are those guys obviously are probably trying to go pro as well, including yourself, right? I mean, you're playing college golf. That's the ultimate dream, I'd imagine, right?
Yeah,
Or goal.
we had a pretty interesting team. We had myself, who's just like a guy who was never that good. Like I was all state in high school, but I was never really good. We had myself and a couple other guys like that. And then we had one kid from Pinehurst who easily could have played at NC State or UNC Wilmington. He easily could have played D1, but he just wanted to stay close to home, stay close to his family, and he was more of a hunter and fisherman. I think he
Sure.
just wanted to, who just like happened to be the greatest golfer
Naturally
you're
good
ever.
at it.
Oh, he's so good. I mean, he definitely cared about golf, but yeah, he just wanted to stay home. And then when he got done there, he played number one at East Carolina for 2 years.
Wow.
Um, and then we also had a guy from Turkey who was like the number two player from all of Turkey. Um, so yeah, it was a pretty interesting team. That would definitely would have been a good little reality show following us around.
I think they should do that. I mean, obviously, I don't know if you watch Full Swing on Netflix, but I thought that was pretty well done. But that'd be kind of cool. I think that the grind, just to be able to, I mean, there's so many good golfers, so many people watch these pros when they duff a shot, and they're like, oh, I could do that, you know. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
these guys are so incredibly talented, and that goes from like all levels, not just college, but even high school golfers. Um,
Right.
it's it would be something that would be fun to document, that's for sure. Um, so how did you get into the caddy life? What's that all about?
Well, my dad actually was the caddy master at Pinehurst in like the early 90s.
Oh wow, okay. Very cool.
Before he moved up to Michigan and before I was born and everything. So when I moved to Pinehurst from Michigan when I was 17, I knew that caddying was a good way to make a couple bucks every week and a good way to play free golf. And I realized I was absolutely correct about both of those things, and still doing it like 10 years later.
Very cool. So not to go back, but was your dad like was he a PGA professional or what was his line of work on the golf course?
So he was an aspiring professional golfer. He wasn't like a teaching pro or
Sure.
anything like that. And I think the caddy master position, at least at that time, gave him a lot of flexibility to play a lot of golf and work on his game and just be around golf, kind of for the same reason why I started caddying.
Because PGA professionals technically like when they work on a course, they really don't play a lot of golf, right? They're literally like
Right.
they
Yeah, you talk to those guys, you're like, hey, how you been playing? He's like, "Ugh, not at all. Like I played in July.
exactly.
They,
That's it's crazy. I've heard that several times. Like you probably get out like every day, right? And he's like, no, not really. It's I get out every day, but I'm not playing golf and
yeah,
practicing the game, you know. So
he,
that's the difference between the caddy life, right? So you do have the opportunity to play a lot more golf.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, if we're not on the grass carrying someone else's bag, we totally have the right to go carry our own.
Very cool. So like on a given week, how many rounds of golf you get putting in?
I mean, since I
Like
started Real Golfers, I'm probably not playing as much. I'm looking maybe once or twice a week and two or three practice sessions. I think if I chip and putt 2 or 3 times a week, that keeps my game pretty fresh. And as far as caddying goes, it depends on the time of the year. It could be anything from like 7 days a week to just two or three, depending on winter, fall, spring, what
sure.
time of the year.
And the ocean course is like super tough. I mean, it's a really well known, one of the top courses in the United States. I think they said top four, I think, in the United
Yeah,
States
probably for public.
for public. Yeah, 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 absolutely. So does that like make a big difference for your game too? I mean, it's because I've heard it's super tough, super windy.
Yeah.
Um, how does that as far as like are most of those courses pretty similar? They play that because of like the coast there? Is that something that you have to kind of take in effect?
Yeah, I would say the courses on Kiowa are all pretty similar. They're all the same type of grass. They're all pretty soft and the greens aren't super fast. But the thing I've benefited from the most after being at the ocean course for 3 years is definitely learning how to play in the wind.
Sure.
Um, I've learned if you know you're hitting a draw or a cut, it doesn't matter which one, as long as you know what's coming, you can play in the wind. And I've also learned how much the wind can affect chipping, probably more so than any part of the game. You think it's the 300-yard drives because it's in the air for longer, but if you have a downwind chip to an elevated green, which happens all the time at the ocean course, it's basically impossible because you hit the ball up there and it's going to check, but it doesn't because the wind just pushes it forward.
And is it pretty similar to like Pinehurst is kind of that same way too, right? I've heard like those greens are like they just roll. Like you could barely, like
Yeah.
they're rolling pretty they're pretty firm.
The greens on number two are unreal.
That's
So the ocean course has pretty flat greens. They're all elevated, but
sure.
the thing about the ocean course is that it's actually not that hard if it's not windy.
Okay.
Because we have huge fairways and the greens are super doable for any skill level. But when it is windy, it's like the hardest golf course you'll ever play, especially if you're
Sure.
playing from the back tees. Because if you're not in the giant fairway, you're in the marsh and you're taking a drop. Whereas Pinehurst, the course itself isn't that hard, but then, like you said, when you get to the greens, they just roll for days. They're all
Yeah.
like turtleback greens. So I'll see a guy oftentimes when I was caddying in Pinehurst, he hit the green in two, it'd roll off, and then you go like bunker to bunker like 3 times
That
because
would
the
be me
greens
for
are just,
sure.
yeah, me too. I mean, that's literally all of us except maybe like 125 guys.
Well, and that's just it. Like I'm not terrible off the tee. I can drive the ball fairly well, but I would say putting is probably my weakest part of my game. Like I'm kind of self-taught, so like everything's just been
Yeah.
from playing and but I am literally like the worst putter there is. Short game's okay. Like I'm okay with my 60 degree, my 52 degree and all that, but yeah, you get on the green. It's like I don't even know what I'm reading,
Yeah.
to be honest. Like that's where the caddy comes in place though, right? That's where you're at. Like
Yeah, for sure.
you're my
I
confidence
mean,
builder. You tell me where to hit the law, make the line and make the putt, right?
yeah, we do. I think that's the biggest part of our job is taking the thinking out of it for people. I'll basically, anytime I'm reading a putt for someone, I'll start with whether it's uphill, downhill, or level. And then I'll give them a spot to aim to. And I usually point to a spot instead of telling them like a certain distance outside the hole. Because I think if you get that visual spot, that really helps someone, especially if it's like the apex of the break. They can just aim at that, try to like die it there. And putting is so visual. When you say putting is the worst part of your game, I actually love to hear that because you can save so many shots
Mhm.
if you can improve your putting. And the thing with putting is speed is key. If you can just get your speed right, you'll never three putt, you'll make a few. So if putting is the weakest part of your game, I think you could improve pretty quickly.
I like that. Yeah, that's words of encouragement. That's caddy right there. There you go. See,
I can't turn it off.
So we definitely want to hear some caddy stories, but like, what's the demographic out there as far as like the style of golfers or the type of golfers? I mean, I'm right around. I hover like the 9 to 10 handicap. That's kind of where I'm at. But
Yeah,
that's mainly I get out once or twice a week. Obviously, I'm like every other golfer that wishes they could play every day. But unfortunately, that's not my reality. So like, it's not a cheap course, right? For the most part, it's a kind of an expensive golf course to play like around,
it
if
is.
I'm
Yeah,
not
very
mistaken.
expensive.
Yeah. So like is it people that are really good, people that are just maybe have a lot of money and they're just learning the game of golf? Like what's the demographic when you're out there caddying?
Yeah. I would say for the most part, as far as handicaps go, you'd probably be in the middle in like the 9-10 area, maybe even like the better half.
Okay.
We don't see people breaking 90 very often. If you see someone break 80, you're like telling the other caddies about it afterwards.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because like we were saying, it's a tough course, and like you were saying, it's an expensive course. So the people who are playing out there are the ones who can afford it. And
Sure.
occasionally you'll get a good golfer, but we get a lot of like 55, plus year olds out there who
Mhm.
it's just a tough course for them at that age. And
Sure.
I would say for the most part, not a lot of scratch golfers.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Do you get like anyone pissed off at you for like maybe giving advice and they like just hit a bad shot? Like, you know what I mean? Like
Oh
you're on
yeah.
like one of the nicest courses, but at the same time, like it's not your fault, right? You're the caddy. You're just kind of there to help them out. But do you get like some pretty pissed off golfers?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I after caddying for 10 years, I have all the excuses in the world. Um,
Oh,
but
that's awesome.
it happens.
I need to hear a couple of these.
Well, I mean, if someone gets mad at me, I won't say this to them, but I'll just tell myself like, even if I've misread the putt or even if I gave the guy the wrong club, like he's the one who decided to trust me and go forward with that club or that line on the putt. So ultimately, it's always the golfer's decision.
True.
Um, we're just there to advise. Um, but yeah, plenty of excuses.
Have you seen any like crazy like hole in ones or any like eagles or anything like that out there while you're caddying?
I did see a pretty crazy albatross the other day. It was the first albatross I've ever seen, which for
Wow.
those who don't know, it's a one on a par four or a two on a par five. It was like a 20 handicap who caught this par five straight downwind, hit the best drive of the day. And I think he had like 190. And he just absolutely bladed a 5 iron that ran like it probably carried 100 and rolled 90 and just it rolled right in.
In and dropped in.
Yeah.
Unreal. That's kind of how it works though, right? Get that high
Yeah.
handicap person out there and that's how they get hooked, I guess. But like I don't know if they like can like I don't know. Like some of these people that are played their whole life, right? That are in that 2 to 10 handicap that have been playing
Yeah.
forever, trying to get that in. And they never, they never will. But that's bizarre because I think an albatross is more rare than a hole in one, I would imagine, just
Oh,
based off of because
definitely.
you're hitting it, they said
Yeah.
it's on a par four or a par five and two.
Yeah. Three under
Um,
par on one hole.
that's insane. I wonder what that scorecard ended up looking like at the end.
Probably a lot of sixes, sevens, and eights, and 1, 2.
What?
And then two just happened to be on a par five.
That's just insane. Um, so you've had obviously some angry golfers. Like what are some of the cool stories that maybe you've had in the past as far as whether it's a professional golfer or an act somebody famous. It doesn't have to be anyone famous, but just like what are some of the cool stories that you've had like that you've experienced out there?
Yeah. There's a lot. I would say probably one of my favorite stories is I was caddying for Larry Fitzgerald, the
Oh yeah,
football player.
it's from here
And
actually, Minnesota. He's a Minnesota native.
is he?
Yeah, yeah. He went
Nice.
to a private school here, played football, and obviously he played for the Cardinals forever.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I know
super,
him from the Cardinals.
he's a super stud golfer.
Yeah, he was a good player. He shot like right around 80. Like it was definitely one of those rounds where I got done and I was like, hey, guess what? Larry Fitzgerald's pretty good at golf.
Dang.
Um, but he had this putt which looks like it's uphill, but it's really not that fast, or sorry, not that slow. And he's over the putt. It's like a 40-foot putt. I'm like, all right, so it's not that slow. Don't be afraid of it. And he looks at me, he's like, all right, I'm not afraid of anything. And kind of just hesitated for a second. He was like, except Ray Lewis, which was,
That's awesome. I'd be scared of Ray Lewis too.
yeah, I wanted to be
Because
like, on the football field, off the football field.
yeah,
Like, where
which
are
one?
you?
Both?
Yeah, both, maybe both.
I like that. That's funny. So how did he get close to making it or no? Or not even close?
Yeah, I'm sure he hit a good putt. I can't remember.
Sure.
I just remember this. He was a good player though, so I'm sure he hit a good putt.
Do a lot of these guys like ask for advice? I know like do you have to have a caddy at this course or it's just more preferred because you guys know the course and you know what I mean?
Yeah, the latter. It's preferred. If you've never played the course, you don't have to take a caddy. You can carry your own bag. You can't take a golf cart. But it's just it's a visually strange course. It's a Pete Dye course, and he's known for visual deception.
Hmm.
Um, so the course, it's not right out in front of you like some courses are. You really maybe if you're playing with a buddy who's played the course 7 or 8 times, you can get away without having a caddy on your first try. But it's one of those courses where you really need a caddy for sure, at least the first time.
What's your lowest round you've shot on that course?
Lowest round I shot was like the second round I played out there. It was in training. So we were playing pretty far up. We were playing like 6,400, but I shot 68.
68.
Yep.
That'd be
Yep.
that'd be me on the front nine.
Yeah. That was, I mean, I shot 40 on the front nine today. I mean, the course is a beast. That 68 was on a day with no wind. And like I said, we were playing up, so all the par fives were reachable. But man, the course is a beast when it's windy.
What is the average distance that most of those guys are playing that at? Like 66, 67,
We most of them play 64, the tees that I was talking
64.
about. That's
Okay.
yeah, we have five sets and 64 is right in the middle. It's like 58, 62, 64, 68, and 74. And then the back tee is about 78 and a half hundred. But no one plays there. I mean, it's just
That's
too far for,
ridiculous.
yeah, even the pros didn't play it back there.
So you're obviously on Instagram and all that. We've had Bobby with Brilliantly Dumb on the podcast a long time ago. We've had some cool guests on, but there's so many of the YouTube videos where they're playing. It's like the Instagram guys versus like professional golfers, right? You got Ricky Fowler out there. There's some cool different uh,
Yeah.
golfers. Do you guys get a lot of that, or is that because it's like a resort for the most, but there's multiple courses on that property, right? Do you guys get any of that kind of cool stuff out there?
Yeah, we got five courses. Yeah, I think Eric Anders Lane came out and played the course. The guy from Random Golf Club, super cool
Yeah,
guy and company. Let's see. It's mostly athletes though. Like we see a lot of
sure.
baseball and football players. Wesley Bryant was out there pretty recently.
Oh yeah,
So as far as pro golfers, we don't see a lot of them. And I think the reason is because the type of grass, which is called paspalum. All the PGA Tour events, or at least most of them, are played on bent
yeah,
or Bermuda, mainly
sure.
Bermuda. So I think a lot of those guys like to stick with that type of grass and so not really change anything up.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, it's kind of
we-
hard to like practice on that kind of grass if they're not really playing on a regular basis on the
exactly.
tour. Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
it's a totally different type of grass. There's no grain. I can go on all day about types of grass, but yeah, they're totally
No,
different.
that's honestly, like I said, I mean, for our listeners, I wanted to ask, like, what are the different things that you also do as far as caddying? Because I know, when you see like on movies or TV shows, it's basically like picking a club and giving you a
Right.
line for putting. But what are the other aspects that go into actually caddying and helping somebody out?
Well, you're with someone for 5 hours, so it's a long time. So you gotta do your best to get along with them and kind of read their vibe. Like, do they want someone to talk to all day? Do they want someone who's just there to carry the bag and give advice? Um, so you really got to read your player, try to figure out what they want to get out of this round.
Sure.
Are they a serious golfer? Are they someone who plays once a year and they just want to see the views? So you really got to read your player and kind of just cater to their needs. Everyone's different.
Are you the big hype guy? Like for me, like it kind of reminds me, like when you mention that, it's kind of like when you go get your hair cut, right? If you go to like a barber shop or whatever, it's like
Yeah,
the barber's got to feel the vibe, right? Does this guy want to
right,
talk well, or does he just want to trim up my beard, cut my hair, and be on your way? You know what I mean? I'm a talker, so obviously I'm always talking, but there are times obviously where you just want to get in there and just, you know, take it easy and just get your hair cut. So
right.
are you like the big hype guy though? Like depending on reading the room as far as who this person is, like is that something that you try to do? Is it like the positivity is really where it's gonna, you
The
know,
positivity, yeah, the positivity is always there because I mean
for sure.
it's the hard like we were saying, one of the hardest courses you'll ever play. Most of our guests haven't played a course like this. So when they've lost four balls through three holes, you really got to work on keeping things positive.
And do you rock like the full on white caddy like bib and all that?
Yeah, yeah, we wear the white full body
Yep.
jumpsuits. I think I'd say from like November to March, we're probably pretty close to getting back into our bibs, and that's just like a regular caddy bib, white shirt, and like khaki shorts.
So we obviously don't need to talk. We don't need to, talk dollars and all that kind of thing. But like, if it's a 5 hour round, how many rounds of golf are you normally caddying for? Is it two to three rounds of golf a day, and how many days a week do you typically caddy?
So I would say spring and fall, we're working like 6, 7 days a week.
Okay,
Summer is probably like 4 or 5, and then January and February are a little slower. They're like maybe 2 or 3 days a week. So it's a little seasonal. You want to save up your money at the end of the fall to make it through the
sure,
winter. And as far as rounds per day, it's almost always one. We'll do two occasionally, like if it's really busy, on a really nice day in the spring or fall. Um, but it has to be light out till like at least 8 to be able to do it twice because it's such a long round of golf.
sure.
And we also have a ton of caddies, so we, for the most part, don't need to go twice. Most of us don't want to.
Yeah, yeah, that would be a long day. That was what I was gonna ask you. Are there a lot of caddies that are at the course? So it's like it's not like, oh, you knew who just canceled, so I need you to fill in. I'm sure that happens, but there's plenty of them on staff where you don't have to worry about that too often.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure we've got at least 100 guys. Because a lot of day, like a busy day out there is about 200 players, and everybody needs a caddy. And we carry 2 bags each, so we try to have like 100 guys ready to go whenever.
So you carry two bags. So you're caddying. So it's a foursome. You're caddying. You have two bags per foursome. So
Yeah,
you
it'll be
use
a
two caddies.
foursome with 2 caddies. Each caddy's carrying two
I
golf
didn't
bags.
even I didn't even realize that. I was thinking
Yeah,
just one, just like PGA style, like one bag.
yeah, twice the amount of money in the same amount of time.
That's what I'm talking about. That's awesome. So what do you focus on in the gym to just really get those shoulders going? Is that something you just like do you start like in the off season? Are you just pumping like golf bags?
Yeah, I mean, I do lift a little bit. I mean, we burn so many calories at the ocean course. It's hard not to be like overly skinny.
I'd imagine
Um,
that's got that. Yeah, that's I did like I said, I was thinking one bag, but two bags.
yeah, yeah,
That's a
and
lot.
we do our best to lighten them up. Like if someone shows up with a heavy ass bag, we're gonna switch it out into one of our bags and take out all their unnecessary stuff. But as far as staying ready to caddy every day, it's a lot of stretching. Um, yeah, a lot of stretching.
So what's the go-to snack when you're on the course?
Man, that's a good question. I love snacks. I mean, I'll bring like 3 or 4 granola bars sometimes. The complete cookie. It's
Yep.
Yeah, it's at gas stations. That's a good snack. It's got like 15 grams of protein and it's pretty filling. Cliff bars, RX bars, whatever we're feeling like that day.
So do these golfers sometimes like bring some of those snacks on there for you, or they're like, no, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like they'll hook you up, or they're not supposed to probably, but
Yeah, I mean they'll buy us like a hot dog or something at the halfway
sure.
house when we're going from 9 to 10.
That okay. I had so the halfway house. We were just talking about this last podcast.
Yeah,
I've never heard of the halfway house. So halfway house here is basically sounds like
it's like rehab, right?
exactly, yeah. Is it a region thing? Because
Um,
I've never heard
I
of
don't
that.
know.
It's
We had
yeah,
halfway houses in Michigan.
you did. Okay.
Yeah, maybe you just need to start playing nicer courses.
That's probably what it is. Apparently, I'm not playing the nice courses because it's always at the hot dog at the turn, whatever
Right,
it
it's like
might
in the
be. But
pro
they don't
shop.
the pro shop. Yeah, it's not really called that. So that's funny. Back to back episodes because I was saying that I've never actually talked to somebody that's called it that. I've only seen it on social media. So
Yeah,
and the times that I have seen it are at these really nice pro shops or halfway house, like you like to call it. But
right.
I've never heard of that before. Like I said, it reminds me I need to check myself into rehab. That's kind of what it, but again, but but again, I'm not gonna say that the Ocean Course's pro shop or halfway house is. I'm sure it's probably top notch. So I'm sure it's a pretty nice halfway
Yeah,
house to attend. But
it's all
um,
right.
it's all right. Um, so you don't again you don't have to give this number out, but like what is like the most you've seen like one caddy make in a day, like ballpark?
Um, okay. I mean, guys will have $1,000 days occasionally.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, if you get some guy who, I don't know, maybe just sold his company for 100 million, maybe he'll throw you 5 grand. That's probably like a once a year type thing.
that's pretty sweet though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say like 300 is a pretty good day for us.
Okay.
And but once in a while you get some guys feeling really generous.
Yeah, and it probably all depends on how well he's playing too, right? It's kind of like if you're going to like a casino or something, you're gambling, and all of a sudden you're up a lot, you're gonna flip, the dealer, that
Yeah,
much more, right?
definitely.
So like when they do shank a shot, you're just like, hey, I didn't see that. Just go ahead and put that ball down and you hit another one.
uh, it kind of depends on the guy. I mean, some
No,
guys want
I
to
hear
try
you.
to play it legit. Sometimes I'm kicking a ball out after every shot,
For
basically out
sure.
of the weeds.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just depends on the guy.
sure. We'll do one more question about caddying, but as far as and then we'll talk about your brand. But you also caddy at Pinehurst, you said, right?
Hmm.
Like what in your opinion, which course or resort do you like better? Do you prefer the Pinehurst or do you prefer the Ocean course?
I get that a lot. I would say if I had to pick one, such a tough call. Catch me on a different day and I'd have a different answer. But
For
I'd probably
sure.
go with the ocean course because it's just so beautiful. I would say for the most part, the golf is definitely better in Pinehurst. Just like the quantity of golf that they have.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't say that the ocean course is better than number two. They're just so different. But the ocean course is just so like stunningly beautiful, like every single day. I mean, I'm out there walking around and it definitely feels like work, but like at least once every day, I kind of just like stop and look around and I'm like, man, this place is just unreal. Like if I'm ever not doing this job, I will miss it.
Yeah. Is there like a certain qualification you have to be a caddy? Because like I feel like it's a great job. I know you'd mentioned like out of high school, college, and all that, you see a lot of like younger guys that are caddying. Is that something like again? I suck at putting and I suck at reading a green, so I probably wouldn't be beneficial. But I could be a good hype man. But like,
Yeah.
how do you even become a caddy in the first place?
Um, I would say being the hype man is honestly at least equally important to
Okay,
reading the greens well. Because if you were caddying, you would improve at reading greens pretty quickly.
sure.
As far as becoming a caddy, if you have like prior experience playing golf, like competitive golf, or just really any knowledge of golf, well spoken and physically able to carry two bags, you're basically good to go, especially if you time it right. Like if you go to, say, a course in Florida and you want to start caddying there and you show up in like November, right before they get busy, that'd be great. You'll probably get the job. And if you show up at Kiowa in February, which is right before we get busy, you'll get the job. So as far as becoming a caddy, timing is really important, just like when you apply, because we
Okay.
always need certain guy or more guys at certain times of the year.
Okay. So you're always kind of I should say always. You are looking for caddies at certain times of the year. So that makes sense. I didn't really think of it that
Definitely.
way. Okay. Yeah, we're not looking for caddies in Minnesota or Michigan and the
Yeah,
only thing is
maybe
you
for
can plow the snow maybe. That's about it.
yeah, maybe a couple weeks in July.
Yeah, exactly. It's a short window to caddy here.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your brand, the business that you started.
Yeah.
Um, what kind of inspired you to start this business and when did you start it?
Um, well, I would say I always wanted to do something on my own, and golf shirts are just insanely expensive. They always have been. Like growing up, I was never wearing a new golf shirt every time I was playing. And there was one day right before I started Real Golfers where I was looking at all my golf shirts and there's like 40 of them, and I realized like, wow, I didn't buy any of these. Like these were all from courses I had worked at or like teams that I had been on. And I love golf shirts and I love fashion. And I wondered why I'd never bought golf shirts because I wear them every day. And it's because
Yeah,
they're so expensive. So
for
really
sure.
just making an affordable high-end golf shirt is kind of the inspiration behind the whole brand.
Did you have like any knowledge behind starting a business or like you just kind of dove
Nothing.
right in? Nothing? Awesome. So
Nothing.
how long ago was that?
That was, I would say late 20, early 2021 was when I started. My first
Okay.
shipment of shirts showed up in Asian sizes. So if that shows you how little I knew at the time, yeah, I knew nothing, but I knew I wanted to do something, and I feel like there's something there with more affordable golf shirts.
Um, you make a good point because I've also seen that before where they're European sizes and same thing. Like
Yeah.
typically they run a lot smaller than the United States. So um yeah, I made that mistake before ordering pants. I'm like, it made me really feel uncomfortable about my I'm like, there's no way I normally fit in this size
Would
pants.
I would I be fat in Europe?
Yeah, exactly. I am overweight in Europe for sure. So I totally get what you're saying there. So you have several different polo options. They all look really nice. And then you also have your couple different hoodie options. One was the AVL Municipal Course hoodie. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. The Asheville Municipal Golf Course is just a course. I went to college in Asheville after Pinehurst. I went to UNC
Okay.
Asheville to finish up the 4-year degree, and I played the Asheville Muni all the time. And I think that place kind of embodies our brand pretty well. Like it's really inclusive. The golf is great and it's still affordable. So I named the hoodie after it.
Very cool. It's a really dope looking hoodie too. Um, and then I like the vinyl hoodie as well. Like what was
Yeah,
the
the vinyl did really well.
yeah,
I wanted to do something that was kind of retro, and the hoodies were the first time I ever actually like hired a designer instead of just doing it myself. And that's what she came up with. And I named it vinyl because it kind of looks like the little lines on a record.
I can see it a
And
little bit.
yeah, and it's like a cool like 70s word. And I think it was a good word because it started with B, easy to remember.
Sure.
So yeah, the vinyl was did really well.
No, they're both super nice looking. Do you have anything coming out soon or in the next couple months or anything like that?
Yeah. Probably early April, maybe sometime in April, we're gonna come out with a new collection of polos. And something cool we're gonna do is we'll be donating 10% of each sale from that collection to the First Tee of Charleston, which is something we're excited about.
That's awesome. Very cool. I love that. I'm all about giving back to and donating. I think that's just a great way to do that. So good for you. That's awesome. Um, is there like one piece of advice that you'd give someone who might want to be an entrepreneur or is an entrepreneur and wanting to start a golf business or some sort of business? Is there a piece of advice that you might want to share?
Um, I'm still working on it myself, but I would say the only piece of advice I'm qualified to give and would feel comfortable giving is just jump in.
I love it.
I ordered those original shirts and they were literally Asian sizes, like I was saying,
Yep.
when they showed up, and that was super deflating. But I got back on the phone with the manufacturer, figured it out, and 2 years later, I have shirts that fit. So it's a process. It's
Yep.
you get better every day, and you learn from other people. And I would say just jump right in and don't worry about sucking for a while because we all suck at the beginning.
That is a great piece of advice. I finished a book like 2 days ago called Jump by Kim Prell and same kind of thing of, you know, yes, you have to be smart on certain things, but at the same time, you have to really make that move to jump and actually do it because I feel like that's where a lot of people they think about it, but they don't do it, right? They get scared, get
Definitely.
nervous, and then that's probably like one of the biggest regrets. It's like trying that you just never did it, even though you should have. And so I like that. I do have some rapid fire questions real quick for you. And so the first one is, what is your lowest round of golf?
62.
Wow, that would be if I'm shooting that, that's on a mini golf course.
Yeah, I haven't done that in like 7 years. It's been it's been a while.
Like what is like like what is going through your mind at that time? Like is it just like you're just dialed in and zoned in and everything else is just kind of a blur or
Yeah,
what?
that was one of those days where I did a really good job of taking it one shot at a time.
Yeah,
And I was also playing with some buddies who weren't very serious golfers. So it was like a really relaxed vibe, and I think that
sure.
really helped.
Dang. Well, that's super impressive. Um, Pants or shorts in the golf course?
Um, Shorts if possible.
Okay. Is that something that you can't wear when you're caddying, right? If you're, I'm assuming you have to, or is that something
Yeah,
that's like you
we
can
can wear
wear whatever
shorts.
you want? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess, do you get to plug your own stuff then? Is that something you're getting in the ocean course and all that? Or is that something that
Not
they
really,
probably,
no.
not really?
They give us stuff to wear. It's Peter
Sure.
Millar. It's just like it's all
Oh, yeah, it's just, yeah, it's not very expensive.
right.
They have some good quality products too.
I
Um,
do.
hat, bucket hat, or no hat?
Definitely hat. Bucket hat for caddying for sure,
Okay. Yep.
and regular hat for golf.
All right. What driver is in your bag currently?
Sim 2 Max. I
Sim
need the
2
extra
Max.
spin.
Sure. Um, favorite style of course, traditional or link style?
Anything Donald Ross. I love Donald
Anything Don
Ross.
Ross? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you're a big shoe guy right now, but like, what is your favorite golf shoe to wear and a favorite shoe that you'd like to have?
Yeah. I'm in Pro SL, FootJoy Pro SL. Can't go wrong. They're comfy. They're grippy. Like I would trust them in a tournament. And as far as one that I'd like to have, I still don't have any Jordan golf shoes, so got to get on
Jordan,
that.
yeah, right. They're kind of taking over the shoe game right now on the golf course.
They look so good, and I'm
They
sure they're
do.
comfy.
Yeah, I have the one lows, the Chicago's, and those are, yeah, super nice, very comfortable. But
Yeah.
I'm more of a big shoe guy. I played basketball growing up, so I have a lot more basketball shoes. But I do love the way they're transitioning and making those into the golf shoes. So
We all
um,
played basketball growing up. There's nothing else to do up there in the winter.
that's right, exactly. um, early morning or twilight golf?
Twilight.
Twilight, okay. And is that for playing or cat? I mean, caddying you probably early morning, I'd imagine, right?
Yeah, caddy's usually early morning. I say twilight for one because it's usually free for golf course employees, and then two, I'm just more relaxed in the evening.
Yeah. Um, what is your favorite club in your bag right now?
My putter for
Your
sure.
putter? Okay.
Yeah, I've used an arm lock for 3 or 4 years, and it's really saved my golf game. I mean, I love that thing.
Was there a reason why you like switched to that, or did you like?
Yeah, I mean, I was getting a little yippy, honestly.
Sure.
Especially in tournaments, I was starting to lose some confidence, and I switched to the arm lock. And I think it's like literally a different part of your brain is working because it's such a different grip. And the yips completely went away. I love that thing.
I'm gonna hop on the Google and start looking up some stuff after we hop on this podcast, so I can switch up my
Yeah,
putting game too.
yeah. I highly
Um.
recommend the arm lock.
Okay. I'll do some more research. Who is your favorite golfer right now?
Um, Probably Homa. I mean, Homa is a cool guy. I mean,
He seems like
everything
a
he says
yeah.
is funny. He's been playing great. It's got to be Homa.
I was glad who won. He was in contention of winning and he ended up losing, but he's like been Mr.
Rom.
Calif. Was it Rom? Yeah, it was Rom.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can
Riviera.
change. Rom is a machine.
Yeah,
He's unbelievable.
he's the best player. I mean,
He's so
Rory
good.
maybe, but Rom is, I think, the best player.
He really is. And he doesn't really have he's got a kind of a short backswing, but he's so good.
He's got a weird swing. I saw a video about it on Instagram earlier. It's like he's taking it back and it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. And even like his transition is still bad, but then
Yep,
like right before impact, it's perfect. And I mean,
exactly.
we all know what happens when he hits the ball.
Yeah. No, and he's kind of one of those guys too that's always kind of been known to have like a hot head and all that kind of stuff. But I've seen
Yeah,
like podcast episodes and interviews, and guy seems actually pretty legit dude. So I don't know how he earned that reputation, but I think he is probably the best right now for sure.
I like
Um,
Rom.
yeah, same here. Favorite course that you've played? You got
Um, so hard. Arcadia Bluffs, just because it's in Michigan.
so that one we were talking about Michigan golf, and I think that is the number one golf course in Michigan, I believe, for public wise, the best, I
Yeah,
think, or
definitely,
one or two for sure. Yeah.
definitely.
So I definitely need to make my way out there. Like I said I played Forest Dunes, and then I played a couple other courses out there, and absolutely. I'm trying to think of the names. One was called like the Nightmare Course. Yeah, the Nightmare Course, and then there was one other course. And it was like it's kind of cool, but it's like two different courses on the same property, and one's the Nightmare,
Yeah.
one's the but the Nightmare is actually like the opposite. It's actually more forgiving. So
Oh,
I don't know
got
where
it.
they came up with the names, but it was kind of cool. And it was a pretty nice course. So,
That's a good
but I
name. I would
do
never forget that.
no, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's actually a really good marketing strategy
Yeah, you
because
remembered it.
exactly I know, and I can't remember the one that was actually tough.
Right.
It doesn't sound very tough, but yeah, the Nightmare Course that was a good track. Um, so what would be your bucket list course that you haven't played?
Um, Man, another good one. I'd probably, I mean, gotta go Augusta, right? Like,
Yeah. Okay, let's take Augusta out and maybe St. Andrews
okay.
out. Let's take Augusta, St. Andrews, and maybe Pebble. I don't know if that's,
Yeah,
but
no Pebble. Oh man, that's another tough call. I'd probably go with maybe Cyprus. I mean, I've heard
that's a
nothing
that's
but
a good
good things
answer.
about Cyprus for my whole life.
That's a really good answer. I like that. Um, if you had one song to like walk up to off the you're right off on hole number one, what song are you gonna be putting on the for the tunes?
Um, well, two of the new shirts that are coming out in April are inspired by a Tribe Called Quest, so I'll
Oh,
go with
okay.
yeah, I'll go with I want to say bugging out because I'm always freaking out on the first tee, but
Yeah,
I'll go with check the rhyme because that's a little cooler.
okay. I like it. That is like the toughest part, right? Like, going back to the caddy thing, but if someone like shanks it off the tee, you guys do a little breakfast ball action?
Definitely, definitely. That
Okay.
always makes them a little more comfortable and helps
Yeah.
everything go better.
Right. All right. So appreciate you taking the time. I do have one other question. We always kind of end on food questions. So if you had an opportunity to eat essentially your last meal, could be a homemade meal by anybody, or if it's at a
Yeah,
restaurant, what are you eating? And you could be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You could walk us through the whole day. If not, you could just tell
yeah.
us one meal. What are you eating?
Let's see. Breakfast, I'm going with just a classic farmer's breakfast, like sausage, eggs, potatoes, toast. Lunch, um, lunch, I think I'll go with like some sort of chicken bowl, like maybe Chipotle style, but like much nicer,
Sure.
obviously. And then dinner, probably go with my mom makes a pretty mean French dip, so
Ooh,
probably go
okay.
with that. And then dessert would definitely be like a cookie cake with frosting in the middle.
That sounds good. Is there one
Yeah.
place if I'm out in that area that I need to visit as far as restaurant wise?
Zaobao biscuit.
How about
It's
biscuit?
not
Okay.
not very close to Kiowa. It's downtown Charleston, which is where I live. Vietnamese. They have this cabbage pancake. I mean, you got to go if you're here. It's so good. We'll go.
Awesome.
We'll go.
Yeah, I would love to. Like I said, I that is one thing I really want to do more is get out and travel more and play different courses kind of all over the place. And I haven't been on that direction to play golf. I mean, I've been on the West Coast, been down south, been all over the place, but I haven't been on that direction. So I definitely want to make a point and play out there. So I'll hit you up. It's been a pleasure, man. I appreciate you taking the time and would like to have you on again. We'll have Dom on, and then you said when you got that next drop, maybe later this year, we can have you on, tell some more some caddy stories.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm happy to come on anytime. I enjoyed talking to you.
I appreciate it, Henry. Thanks so much. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
All right, later.